welcome back to day 48 of Survivor 50 Seasons in 50 Days. I just finished watching Kyle beat both Joe and Eva, allegedly the greatest duo ever, or whatever they were trying to claim at Final Tribal.
It came home.
In a season, a tale of two halves. And we're going to talk all about that tale of two halves with my panel today, making his return from Survivor Pearl Islands. We have Jared. Thank you so much for coming back. And then making her return from Survivor Cook Islands, we have Julia. And Jared, just to start with you, expectations going into, so one, what were your thoughts on 47? So what were your expectations going into 48, knowing everything that could possibly happen with 50 on the horizon?
Well, I think at this point, going into the season, we still weren't super sure what 50 was going to be. I don't remember when it got announced that it was going to be returning players officially.
47, they announced it, because that's, and we'll talk about all of that. But so okay. We know that 50 is going to be returnees.
Okay. So, I mean, I tried to set my expectations super low with Survivor just because, we had the 20s, we've had the ups and downs of Survivor. So with 48, I was kind of on a high with Survivor again because we had a good stretch of seasons. Mm-hmm. 44, people loved it at the time, like you've said before. 45, amazing season. I liked 46. And then 47, another great season. So, good stretch of seasons. And so coming to 48, I was like, okay, we're on a good roll. Was still kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, and it did. I didn't expect it to be, it's not like dropped super far, but it did drop. So it didn't meet my expectations from 47, but it's hard to match 47. But it still just didn't meet the good consistency that we had going.
Julia, who were some of the characters preseason or just the first 5-10 minutes of the season that you felt like you could really root for, or you just wanted them on your screen, not knowing what's going to happen the rest of even the first episode? Just like, who stood out initially?
Well, Coach, from our preseason talks, we know who I definitely wasn't rooting for. # no MAGA in my house. When it came to the people I was rooting for, I love a fierce woman. There's something about just like a woman. She got like a slightly like devious looking smile. I don't know. It does something to me. So Say, of course, was someone I was just so excited to see on my television screen. As a big character, as a loud person, I love watching people like me on TV. Makes me so happy.
Well, and we're going to go down because the pre-merge is the Say show. So we're going to talk a lot about Say as it goes on. I do want to start with the fact that the cold open this season is different from a lot of the other cold opens that we've gotten so far in the 40s. Like 44 starts with the cold open with Carolyn. I don't remember what season was, but it started off with narration. This season, we get the Zoom calls of the people being casted for the season, which I thought was an amazing touch. I don't need that every season, but if they were to throw that in a couple of times during the 50s, I think that'd be a great addition to the show, just to see that raw moment of people learning that they're going to be on the show. Like that's something that I don't know. I feel like anyone that applies to the show enough times, whatever, you're just wanting that specific moment that we're being shown there. In the hands of the fans is also being promoted from jump of, hey, first episode, y'all are going to be voting on stuff that happens on season 50. I remember when I was doing the podcast at that point, it's like, okay, I kind of know where this is going to go. I know how the fans are going to vote on certain things. What I forget about is there are a lot of times this season that Jeff will say, this week you can vote on this or that. But he'll say it in a way that's almost subliminal. So, for instance, idols. He was like, oh, do you want big moves, idols, and all of this? Or do you want like old school like alliances and one-on-ones or whatever? I'm like, oh, okay. So it's clear what you want because you just sold it one and one.
I remember the voting options, and you could tell anything game related. I'm not talking about colors or the necklaces, but when it was something actually game related, it was like, do you believe in fun? Do you believe in watching good television, or do you hate everything? And are you a boring square? Make your choice.
You saying that
Make your
just reminded
choice.
me
That
of
is exactly
Big
how.
Brother
That's
Canada.
exactly how it went.
I was
What
saying,
happened
like,
with that?
there was a moment in, I think, Big Brother Canada 2, where someone's like, "Do you want good TV?" And like they're in an argument, and that just reminded me of that.
It's strange to think that this was not that long ago, because all of the seasons in the 40s feel more fresh than this one. I'm curious what 49 is going to be for me tomorrow, where it feels both like a long time ago. It's like, oh yeah, this voting just happened, but realistically, I was living in New York when the voting was happening, which was still this time last year. Getting back to the actual episode, we meet a lot of. I know 48 catches a lot of flack, and I get it. The cast though is pretty damn good. Like, there's not. I wouldn't call anyone outright flop this season, because even people that I forgot, like Chrissy, I forgot that she existed. And then today, like her whole boot episode is basically her clocking everything in the game and everyone getting upset and taking her out. She's basically the Troyzan of that episode of, hey, are you guys all crazy? Like, how are you not seeing this? And they get rid of some of the characters and players that stood out to you at the first couple of episodes of the season.
I mean, just pretty much
Did
all
I
of the
cut out?
Green Tribe is a character in itself. Like, I mean, you have the obvious Say, who from Jump, she foreshadowed. I wrote this down in my notes. She foreshadows her mouth getting her in trouble. Like, foreshadows it right away. Kevin with his shoulder, he's like, oh, I have to do this challenge. Justin, kind of like a minor character, but he was still like a good character. And then I feel like someone who we don't talk about a lot is Cedric. He was like a background character, but he was such a major character in what I realized. But it was pretty much their tribe the entire time, within like sprinkles of other people in it. So like you had moments of Camilla and Joe, or not Camilla and Joe, Camilla and Kyle at points, like them connecting, and like Eva.
The legend of Giga Chad, our boy David here. I remember the first time I watched this season, everything he said, I was either annoyed by it or I'd laugh at it because I was laughing at him. Today, I quite liked David. Like, he was a fun time for the most part.
Julia, on a rewatch, I can imagine he's just a good time. It's hard in the moment, because when you are rooting for like the underdog, when you are rooting for this big honor and integrity alliance to break apart, you're just naturally going to kind of dislike the people in it. You know, it's that confirmation bias. I hate your group, therefore I don't like you. But knowing that on a rewatch, like, he doesn't win, that Joe doesn't win, that Eve doesn't win, like I can imagine you just draw so much more joy out of him, because he's funny. He's really fucking funny.
Yeah, he is. Just most of his confessionals, him talking about how his girlfriend's going to dump him if he doesn't win, his whole thing with the gallon of milk, him doing pull-ups, him talking about his trailer situation, and inherently these things aren't funny to laugh at. Just think about when he says, I live in a trailer in my dad's front yard, and Kyle, trying to be the social person that he is like, oh, that's so cool. And he's like, no, it's not cool, Kyle. Why would you think that was cool? Yeah, I really loved David. Thomas's confessionals this season. He obviously he goes out when he goes out, but I would say him and Star are two people who, whenever they are giving confessionals, it's like, yes, give us more of this. Now, obviously, Thomas goes, so we don't get much more. But Star, whenever she actually has screen time and actually can give confessionals, it's good
She's
shit.
fierce.
Once again, it's just like we don't have to bury everyone for the Joe Eva of it all, and we're gonna get to that. So I say that Joe wants honesty and integrity this season. This is a coach fan's wet dream. What were your initial thoughts on Joe? We'll go around the horn here. Julia, what do you think of your initial thoughts of Joe 1.0?
I think what you said of like coach's wet dream, I think he really can be akin to coach, and we see it more on the rewatch where we've said that like the first time you see coach, it's coach whomever, and then when he comes back for Heroes vs. Villains, we're seeing like coach the character. And I feel like that's what it is with Joe. But going back to Joe 1.0, he's fun. I think he's funny. He had some funny moments. The wine stuff when he's talking to Thomas in the pre-merge, like he is enjoyable to watch. But especially as it gets later in the game and we're seeing these conversations he's having with Mary, the whole Shaheen boot episode, it gets very difficult to watch him play the game. I'm almost cringing watching him play the game.
Jared?
I just, the entire time during my rewatch, I was like, okay, how, like, I'm in back of my mind, I'm like, okay, how does his game compare to 50? And I'm like, there's not that much different here. I mean, there's probably like little changes, but I think one of my favorite moments of Joe in the entire season is him in the finale, and they're like in the shelter, and Eva's like, yeah, I'm this engineer doing my PhD at Brown. Kyle's like, I'm a lawyer, and Joe's like, I'm just an effing fire captain.
I'm
like
just a firefighter. Yeah, I'm just a firefighter. And I do agree. So I definitely, watching this again, I definitely prefer Joe 1.0, but I do think he's funny in both seasons. Just I don't remember who he imitated in 50. I think he imitated Devins. Oh yeah, when he goes to get the idol.
Yeah.
Joe had moments where I was like, okay, yes, I would definitely get along with this person in real life, and I would probably hate playing with this person in game, but I would love having conversations with this person in game, because it's just, and I would also be afraid to disappoint this person in game because he does have this domineering personality, but he also has this very low key and down to earth personality, depending on what scene we're talking about. And so we get the birth of both him and Eva as a duo, and the Camilla and Kyle duo, duos that will eventually come to a head at Final Four. Before we get there, though, it's taken me 48 days. Well, technically, whatever. Say finds an idol and she cries and she says, this is what you dream about when you play on Survivor. And I'm just like, once again, these people lost the plot of this show a long time ago, because if we're getting overly emotional about finding an idol and that this is what you come out to do, it made me frustrated. And it's probably because of how I watch it. It's like, no, you remember back in the day, like pre-20, where finding an idol was cool, but it was still like, how do I navigate the rest of this game? How do I maintain these relationships? That moment, it should have resonated with me, because I get emotional over emotional moments. And I just rolled my eyes like, I don't care about this. Why is she so... We're 48 seasons in. Julia, what are your thoughts on how far the idol and advantages have come? Do you like where it has gotten? If we were to scale it back, where would you scale it back to? All of that.
I think we jumped the shark a long time ago when it comes to the level of production manipulation on the basic format of the game. I'm all for wrinkles. I think a basic idol is a wrinkle. I think basic advantages like a block a vote, steal a vote, extra vote, things like that, I am for. But I think we have gone far beyond the level of return, especially as we get into the losing votes on the journeys. And I think the only way to come back from that is, unfortunately, bring it back to basics. And I know we're never going to get a no idol, no advantages, but it needs to be scaled back to where it's only basic idols, basic voting advantages, and people can just play the game as it was intended.
I mean, for me, in watching this and also listening to these podcasts, it's made me like evaluate my thought of the 40s. And what I found is that it's the repetitiveness of some of the things that are happening in the 40s. Like, one issue that the fandom has is the 3 tribes and, you know, all these different advantages. Well, I went and thought, what was my issue with like coming into the 40s? What was my problem with it? And it was theme fatigue. Now I'm like, oh, let's get a theme. And I was like, wait, why do I think that? And it's because we haven't had a theme in such a long time. So they need to pace themselves better in what they do and not just pile it all on in a short amount of time or a long stretch of time. So I think definitely the idol is like the veto of Big Brother. I would say it's never going to leave. But I think that if you just do smaller, like not like smaller advantages, but lesser amount of advantages in a season, that would help. Just so that you don't have like a situation of like Eva literally having an idol, but she got safety without power. She also almost got knowledge as power. Like all these things, you just have to be mindful of how much you're throwing at these people.
Stay also says, I love that people want me out of this game because it shows I'm playing hard. And I would say ... lady, it's round 2. That's the thing with Say. And Julia, and we're gonna go to you with this because for me, even though Say doesn't survive long into the merge, she doesn't even make jury, it's a season of 2 halves for her, for me. The first half of her season, her part of the season, I cannot stand anything that she does or says at the Stephanie Tribal, and just this line after the Stephanie Tribal of like, oh, people just want me out because I'm playing hard. It's like, then don't. Like, this is not the point. And she's sitting there saying, oh, everyone's out here, you know, looking at the stars and this, that, and the other, and they're not playing hard. It's like, yes, because that's not just what the game is. It's not just playing hard and then winning. And then I remember the exact moment that I start being on her side, and we're going to that in a second. But Julia, what is it about Say? Like, are you Say from beginning to end, or is there a moment where like, I get this?
She does have moments that frustrate me a little bit. I think there are points where she goes a little bit too far. Like I said, as someone who's watching this, like I'm watching Survivor, I talk a big game about like, oh, production is doing too much, you know, too many things are happening, but I like interesting television. I like when people maybe don't make their optimal move because it could be fun for me to watch. And Say is always interesting to watch, whether she's playing well, she's playing some of the worst Survivor I've ever seen. She's giving. And that's why I enjoy her. Would I have had fun out there on the island with her? Absolutely not. I would have gone batshit crazy. But from the comfort of my recliner at home, she is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
I have to agree.
Yeah,
like when I was watching it,
yeah,
I was trying to be like, okay, because I kind of remember like her being, you know, the big character, and while she was there, but I was like really trying to watch her this time, and I was like, I was frustrated with her, like in pretty much like all, the 3 tribal councils she went to in a row. I was like mad at her, or not mad, but like, you know, I was like, just shut your mouth sometimes. But I was at the same time like, she's making us good TV, so I cannot be mad at her.
She also, like, not for nothing, absolutely should have just gone home when Justin did. Like,
I could
absolutely.
spend forever talking about that tribal.
But like,
And we're gonna get to that tribal, but yes.
she really like put her puss into that. And like, you have to respect it. Like, you don't have to like her, but you have to respect that there is literally no fucking way she should have stayed.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And
she did. And she did.
and she did. And
I was just going to
Go
say
ahead,
that
Jared.
she's almost like the modern, she's a villain, I'm going to quote unquote villain from like what the fandom would perceive a villain to be. And I know Jeff doesn't want us to have villains, but she would be considered one. But she didn't really do anything bad. She just made great TV. And that's what you would think would help this season. But once she exits, we see what happens.
We see what happens. And yeah, I would say that, and we're going to get to that tribal in a bit there, but just she is an antagonist. And this is my qualm, and I've gone on this rant enough, but this is my qualm with the fandom of one, they claim they want villains, but when villains do pop up in these 40 seasons, they hate them. Her and Rome are perfect examples of that, where they just don't like them. It's like, well, they're giving you exactly what you say you want. Well, we don't want this type of villain.
They want a white one.
Oh no, that's not even where I was going. That's not even where I was going with it. On the other end of that, though, it's I'm not a fan of. I've never been a fan of villains on the show, but that's just me. Like I can still see value in the entertainment factor, and she is, like I said, it's the Say show for the first half of the season. That's why this is a tale of two halves of a season, because Jared, like you said, once she does go, it just kind of fall off of a cliff. Not as bad as I used to think it was, but it was still pretty bad on the rewatch. Before we get to that tribal council, I do want to bring up the Yahtzee of it all, because instead of puzzle, and I think Camille is the one that says it, I was coming here expecting a puzzle and I have to do this, and Justin ends up having to play Yahtzee, Bianca ends up having to play Yahtzee, and ultimately Justin does lose his vote, which is going to pay out in a big way for this tribal. Now, I'm going to be honest, I forgot this tribal existed, and I was confused as to why tribal started that early in the episode. And then as it went on, it's like, oh yeah, that happened. This is where I start to Say, because I feel for her with everything, but also she now has her Genevieve, if she's Rachel, of Mary. I thought we had a good rivalry going, but why are you not doing this? It's crazy that you're giving up. Just everything with this tribal. Jared, we'll start with you. What are some of the big moments that kind of stand out?
Well, okay. The first thing I want to touch on is the fact that this is one of those rare moments where it's almost like the losing of the vote really helps the plot, and it doesn't happen very often. So it's one of those things where okay, CBS, you can have this one, you can have a win. I just, watching the pre-merge portion and this portion, I just didn't remember Cedric having so much control as he did, because and I can't believe that he somehow got out of that vote completely unscathed, 0 vote the entire time, and then became the decider, and then flipped in which I don't think he needed to flip. I think he should have just voted out Say. And I think that probably ruined his game also.
But vote out.
That
you already voted for her twice. You just vote her out. Yeah, just vote her out now.
He's so iconic.
I'm glad he didn't, but Cedric is he's such an interesting character, because it doesn't make any sense with anything that he does. Talking about the Bianca vote, which we're probably not going to touch on, but he just rats her out because of reasons, basically. But going back to this Justin vote, Julia, what were your thoughts at the moment, and have they kind of changed over time? Because I do have a big point that I want to get to.
I was very frustrated in the moment, and a lot of that boiled down to what could Justin have done? And you can say maybe you should have pushed harder for Cedric to vote out Say at that end point. But it boils down to, like, he did not have a choice. He went on this journey and he did not have an option. He did not have the option to play anything for skill to keep his vote. He didn't have the option to walk away. Like, this was forced upon him. And for me, watching all of that in real time, as entertaining as it was, there was still that part of the back of my mind that was just really frustrated because it felt so production heavy-handed.
Which gets me to my point of very similar to the Advantage Geddon moment in Game Changers, a memorable tribal council. And so after this one was like one of the craziest tribal councils that I have ever been a part of. It's like, yes, because you guys are doing so much to it. Do you remember in Philippines where every tribal is amazing and all we really have to worry about were 3 idols in the game at that point? It was still too many idols, but we only had to worry about 3 idols. But Philippines was still so much fun from beginning to end. Here it's like, oh no, like some people don't have votes, and now because of all this,
it's so produced.
Yes,
so produced.
And Cedric, you could just go to Rocks by yourself, which means you would go out. Wouldn't that be crazy too? It's like, no, why is that even an option being presented? It shouldn't be an option. Like, unless he wants to quit, why would that even be presented as an option? I think I remember being pretty on board with this tribal when it aired. Today, once again, it's just one of these moments. It's like, yeah, this is fun if I'm watching it live. If I'm not watching it live, it's like, well, yeah, this is exactly what we've been leading up to. This is the Advantage Geddon of the 40s. We have no other
Absolutely.
options. It has to be this because we've backed ourselves up into such a corner that only one person's eligible to do anything.
And people don't care as much because it's like, okay, Justin is like was the biggest nothing burger of the people on that tribe, whatever. But if this was a different tribe who was in this situation, if this is the purple tribe and we are in this, everyone is beloved and people would be up in arms. And the only reason they're not is because, okay, we lose Justin. Okay, like who was like screaming and crying about that at the end of the day?
Literally no one.
Like nobody. His employees at the pizza parlor. That's about it.
Also in the same episode, Mary committing to the bit is one of my favorite acting moments, even in this season. We have so many acting moments in the season. Everyone's a great actor this
except
season.
For Justin.
You know, except for Justin. I made when I made my post about today yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, they're begging for an Emmy. I forgot that there were so many acting moments in this season to like kind of push back on what I had said yesterday. But Mary committing to the point where Say, her biggest op, is convinced that Mary is actually lying down and is pissing her off so much. It's like, I can't believe I'm losing my big rival out here. And like I said, this is the moment that I really turn on Say in a good way, where it's like, no, this is now fun because she is embracing the fact that she has this rival. And as soon as they get back to camp, it's like, yeah, fuck Cedric. Like, what is this? Why are we doing this? Mary, let's do this. But we get a swap, and we get a traditional swap. There is no fancy, everyone gets an idol. There is no China of it all. It's just a swap. Pick a buff, and we're going to... And this is, of all the swaps ever, this is one of the most diverse, whatever this is the most mixed, one of the most mixed swap tribes that we're going to get.
Great swap.
Mm-hmm.
Great swap, and this is where Kyle and Camilla go into beast mode. And this is where their acting chops are put on full display for the first time. Jared, what did you think of this first big moment of the Kyle-Camilla duo?
It was really great to watch just because, first off, I think it's this episode where they actually have the talk about, all their parents. And at the time, I just remember even being like, I'm not a big, I don't like the emotional scenes or whatever. That's just me. But watching it live, I was like, this is actually a very timely conversation to have. And I'm actually glad that they included it about pretty much all their 3 out of the 4 or something was refugee parents of some sort. And then Joe's dad was being Black and growing up when he did, all the diversity that he faced. So that was a great conversation to have. But that just kind of shows their ability to act, but also have these people really seen the show? Joe and Eva, I know why Eva might have a harder time with their acting skills, and so that's understandable, but come on, Shaheen, what are you?
Yeah.
I'm like, sisters, just make your optimal decision. The optimal decision is not what they ended up doing, and that's what irks me. That's
a lot of the season.
And with me, it goes all the way back to them having their favorite movies, Holes. Both of their favorite movies are Holes, and it's and they're both half Guyanese, or both one of them's Guyanese. But the fact that both of their favorite movies is Holes is, and Camille's I don't even watch movies like that, and I love Holes. I'm I love Holes too, y'all. This moment of them basically going into the swap tribe and pretty much just burying each other to the other 3 is so good, because everyone is buying it hook, line, and sinker. And they even go through Kyle's bag and amazingly don't find the idol that's hiding in his shoe. Thankfully, they don't pour out his shoes. But the entire time, it's in the back of your head, it's you don't want Thomas to go, because Thomas is the narrator of the season so far. But also, it's okay, I understand why they kind of want to get rid of Thomas. And so when everything comes to a head and they, the plot unfolds and we do lose Thomas, and Thomas is sitting there saying, I fucking knew it. I knew there was an idol. I knew we were being played. It's such good TV. And this is one of the pre-merge is amazing. And we keep saying that. And this is probably the best moment of the pre-merge. And it's going to there are still good moments that happen after this, but this is the defining moment for me of the Kyle Camilla duo, coming in full force. Go ahead, Jared.
Well, and this is a very important episode also, because the looking through the bag keeps being referenced throughout the entire season of why Kyle is oh, this is a reason I can't super trust Joe and the alliance completely, because they looked through his bag, they lied about it to him and never told him about it. So it's kind of nice that this is such an important tribal and it carries over. But also, how do they not realize that those 2 are a duo when they play when
they get back
and an extra bow and an idol together?
It's just people assuming that everyone's the main character in their own story. So in all of their minds, it's oh my God, we are the best. What we're doing is working. Everything I'm doing is the best. I'm putting a divide between them. We're gonna vote out Kyle, no problem. And it's when you start thinking like that, when you lose, you need to be on edge at all times.
When they get back and Kyle's yeah, I wanted to work with y'all, and then I saw that someone had gone through my bag. It's why did no one sit there and say, oh, we just assumed Camilla told you because of how you guys has voted? It never, at least on screen, it never came into any of their minds of, maybe Camilla told, because they voted together. And the extra vote actually does not matter. And he says, yeah, I kind of wasted Camilla's extra vote there, but it doesn't ultimately matter. But also, none of it ultimately matters because both of them do make it to the Final Four. What I forgot to mention during the Justin boot, and we can be done with that part, is that we do get another successful shot in the dark. So hooray, we did it again.
Really quickly on the shot in the dark, I always forget it's a thing most of the time because it's so rarely used. And it's so there have been seasons where it's not even referenced.
Yeah, last season they traded to the men because they were like, oh, we'd rather have Rice. You can have it. We don't need
to have a rare victory with that one.
we get to the Emmy moment of the season. The first or second, I think it's the first or second immunity challenge after the swap, where Eva is having a panic attack. And earlier in the season, it's established that Eva has autism, and she's only told Joe up to this point. But she has a panic attack. Her tribe wins, and Say is also struggling a lot during this. And no one consoles her, which really annoyed me. But we have this moment where Joe hops over and he consoles Eva, and one, great moment, but two, establishes themselves as like, hey, we are a tight duo. Look, everyone, look what I am doing. I've gone back and forth this over the past year, because I guess this was only a year ago, about how I felt about this moment. Watching it today with fresh eyes and kind of knowing what happens the rest of the season, what happens to Joe in 50, I still like it. It still resonates, but it's also just like it does go on for a bit, and I do still get annoyed that no one is cheering on Say during this challenge, and everyone's rooting for Eva. Julia, show some tact. No, but what were your thoughts on the Emmy moment?
I've said my piece. I've said my piece on this moment. And you know what? The horse is not back alive, so I don't feel the need to beat it again. I'm gonna let it lay. But I will say, I think it goes back to what I had said before of a lot of this, and I'll just say the pre-merge in general feels very produced and manufactured, because this still wasn't even like a fully organic moment. This was a lot of Jeff saying, Joe, you look really upset. Do you want to talk about it? Joe, do you want to go over there and like console her? And again, it really wasn't even a fully organic moment. It still felt produced and manufactured to be this great TV moment. And that's always going to take me out of it, especially when it's supposed to be super high emotions, when it feels like I'm being set up to feel that way. It's always going to take me out.
I wonder like how much he was like wanting to go over, but like he knew that like, they would like yell at him or something for it, because we see it a lot of the time in like Australian Survivor of they will interact a lot after challenges, and, like, you know, give each other hugs, say like good job and all that. But we don't really see it in US Survivor. So I wonder how like strict they are about it. And so that's why he was like, Joe was like, you know, just had his face on like, he's easy to read, like, oh, Joe wants to do this, but he can't, because he's afraid of getting yelled at because of his honor.
I would say the two most famous moments of this in US Survivor before this moment both involve Boss and Rob. We have the All Stars one with Lex, and then we have the Redemption Island one with Wyatt Nash. What is Wyatt Nash's real name? Him, when he went and congratulated the Zapatera tribe and Matt Elrod. He goes and celebrates or congratulates the Zapatera tribe, and Rob's like, "Oh well, he's got to go." So those are the two moments that kind of stick out to me. So with this one, and yeah, Jeff does go like, "Hey, do you want to go deal with this?" And like I said, it's a fine moment, like in a bubble, but it did feel like let's get those tears, let's get that Emmy, and that's what you feel gross from that aspect, not what's happening in real time, just everything surrounding it. And so I feel bad, but also it's like, okay, yeah, this is where we're at with the show. I always want to call her Chastity. I know her name's not Chastity. I know her name is Charity. But it's always, whenever I write her name down, it's always Chastity. I'm not a charity person, obviously. Mitch is, but that's it. I'm not a charity person, but when Star basically gives Eva the idol and says, "Oh yes, like you did it, Eva, way to go, thumbs up," and then votes for Eva at the end of the game, go figure. Charity is sitting there saying, you need to go get that back because that's crazy. Why would you give her the idol? And this starts this because we
Bitch, I would have lost my fucking mind. I would have
Yes.
lost my goddamn mind.
That would be
Oh
my
my-
13th reason to get rid of her.
Ooh,
What? Yeah.
I
Why
wouldn't have been
start?
able to
Like,
keep it in.
I forgot. I got about this moment as well. It's like, why did she do that? And yes, I don't like Charity, but you need to listen to her because she's telling you the right thing. Get that back from her, please, because you don't. How do you not see this obvious duo that she's a part of? The fact that she is a challenge beast so far, the fact that she is ingrained with a lot of people up to this point. You need to get that back from her, but instead, everything comes back to, oh, well, we don't like Charity because she's stirring the pot and she's doing this, that, and the other. It's like, yes, I want her gone as well, but she's being voted out for something that everyone should be like, yeah, isn't that kind of weird that Star did this and it? I'm not going to ask opinions on Charity for reasons, but just everything surrounding this merge, where it's basically we're going to get rid of Charity or Say. Thoughts on what Charity is trying to establish here at the merge with the whole Eva of it all, and thoughts on people still wanting Say out for whatever reason up to this point. She's playing hard. And Jared, we'll start with you.
She weirdly had the most like logic that made sense. Like, why are you like? I forgot about her most of the season because she just never got confessionals. You know, she just was a background character the entire season until like the episode, the Bianca boot, and then this episode, her actual boot. I mean, I understand why they didn't want to get rid of Eva because that is such like a big swing early, but it makes so much sense. Like, how are people not wanting? They aren't even like actually thinking about getting rid of Joe or Eva in this situation. And what, like, I understand, like, Say is like in the Romeo kind of, almost in like the Romeo shoes from 47 of let's get rid of this public enemy number one of everyone. So I thought they should have listened to her. These people, this is where they started frustrating me this season.
And the thing is, I've always said this, mainly about Big Brother, but I do think the same still applies to Survivor. The best games of Big Brother and the best games of Survivor, from a not a TV stance, but from an I'm actively playing this and I'm playing a good game, are boring. They are objectively boring, and that is it. That is typically the mark of a very good game. And so for these people that end up in this power structure running the game the way they did, I can't even fault them. I will not fault them for how especially the beginning of the merge played out. And unfortunately, so many people thought they were going to be in the power structure. Nothing was ever going to come to fruition. And I can't even, like, in the moment I was mad. I can't even be mad now. It was an objectively great game of Survivor in the post-merge for what they wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, it's
true.
And like this, and this comment is it's correct. It's why Kim and Boston Rob were looked as top winners, and they come from two universally hated seasons. I wouldn't put 48 in that category. I would put them in another category, which I'm going to talk about when we get to the end of this. But I think the biggest difference between this season and those is Kyle and Camilla are a duo that are playing within the power group, but are never looked at as the power person. Kim is looked at as the power person in the power group, and it's like, okay, yeah, steamroll, fine, whatever. Rob is looked at as the power person in the power group. Yeah, fine, steamroll, fine, whatever. Here, the two of them are not even in the same power group. Kyle's in the power group and Camilla is not, but we know they're doing things behind the scenes. But like the main, until maybe the Shaheen vote, the main, I guess the center of it is like the Joe, David, Shaheen people at the top here. And it's like, okay, Kyle's here too. And eventually we're going to see if he's going to turn on Camilla or not. We know he's not going to. But I think that's what makes it more compelling is we have our two main, our biggest duo, our actual biggest duo are not even in the same alliance. One is on the bottom and one is on the top, but they're still feeding each other the same information. But yes, this is, we're going to lose Say here. And you know, she's all right about it as she goes out. She's a good game, everyone. No hard feelings. She goes, and this is where I bring up my favorite segment of the 40s that I've done in almost every episode of the 40s. Hey, do you remember that time in Survivor 42 where the internet got pissed off with Dre and Marianne because they brought up something and they were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's happened almost every season since then, and it happened the season before that. It happens again here, and as I always say, I do not think it's I don't think that it's closeted racism or anything like that. It's just the optics aren't fun. It's just the optics aren't fun
now. Like I can't. It's hard to not think about.
Well, it's just like the gays get voted out fourth. I think that's the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the same thing where it's like the optics aren't, and we do get it here. The optics aren't great with it, but it just happens again. So for the whatever time, fuck Russell Hands for like going off on his little rant about how, oh, well, they're black and they're voting. I'm like, that's not the point, man. It's the optics. We lose Cedric, which I think was a weird move, but the same move I do think was probably the right one. I know Shaheen's name was out there, but the power group was never going to go after each other. And this is where the show kind of takes a turn. For me, it's the honesty integrity group, and I think the only reason it worked for me today is because I know the outcome. It's because I know that Kyle is playing these people, and that this is his easy path to the end, because he's going to be working with these people. They're going to turn on each other because him and Camilla are going to get them to turn on each other, and he's going to have an easy path to the end, or she's going to have an easy path to the end. Jared, you rewatched this more recently. On a second time around, can you find excitement, whatever, in this back half of the season, knowing the outcome?
I mean, I think that once you get, like, after the Cedric Say boot, the Chrissy boot's kind of is a boring episode, because, you know, she's like trying to fight and she shot herself in her foot during the Cedric boot by the comments she made during Tribal. Then you have the David boot, which is a good one because of the whole lie of it all. Again, Camilla and Kyle crafting this amazing lie, right? They lied in that one, I'm pretty sure. And so getting David out I was happy it happened. It was one of the only times I root for Joe is when I was happy he won immunity. And so, I mean, they have its moments, like it's like every other episode at a certain point is like, okay.
Yeah. And this is what it has over Redemption Island, One World, South Pacific, like these steamroll seasons, is that every now and then there are fun moments, starting with the Chrissy vote out is what it is. But like I said at the beginning of this, I just forgot that she was basically establishing herself as the group's biggest op by just outright telling people this is what it is and we need to do something about it. She goes, we're going to see it again with Mary in a few episodes where she's laying at camp and outright telling people while Joe is sitting there, hey, Joe probably is going to win, so you should probably do something about this. And of course they don't do anything about it. Julia, same question. Just is there merit, I guess? Are there moments in the merge post, say, Cedric, that you can look at and say, okay, that was fun?
Yeah, absolutely. the star content, they start to inject in a bit more as it nears her boot episode. I think when she gets screen time, she's electric. I think she's wondering, even though might be one of the worst Survivor players I've ever seen. When she's on my screen, I can't help but just like be excited. I think the Shaheen boot especially is just like a masterclass in subtle Survivor play and showing that no matter what production wants to put in the game, no matter how many advantages and things there are, like just subtle social play is going to be the thing that wins at the end of the day. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my favorite moment of the season, and that's when Mitch goes home. Bye, Mitch. Bye, Mitch.
Like, that's not, I was hoping we could get through this without mentioning Mitch, but there's our Mitch moment. Before we get to, because like I said, I do have a few things that I did really enjoy today. As far as the merge is concerned, outside of the Chrissy thing, it was after that vote where David is rustling and ruffling Joe's feathers about, oh man, you lied, and Joe, Joe, you can't say that to Joe. Like that is the biggest fuck you in the world, and Joe freaks out, rightfully so. And we ended up
on my notes how to piss Joe off. Just
how to piss,
not to
call him no, Julia, we're gonna get there. But we do lose. We lose David. They finally turn on the Meathead Alliance, the Honesty Integrity Alliance. I don't even know if they had an actual name this season, but the Meathead and Honesty Alliance. The Strong Five.
It was the Strong Five, is what they always refer to themselves.
So I prefer Meathead or the Honesty Integrity. We lose David, and a little while later, we're going to get the Mary Boot episode. Like I already talked about, she's basically sitting there saying, "Hey, you guys should get rid of Joe," in Joe's face, and he's not happy about it. And they vote her out, and we get to the moment that, for me, watching this time, I couldn't remember what episode it happened in, but I was waiting for it. Like, I need this to happen soon, because. And when David stood up, it's like, this is the greatest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And especially, once again, it's one of those hindsight things of, because we know what he says at Final Tribal, it makes it that much more fun, because he's literally just fucking with them here. Like, he's not there.
Put more himbos on Survivor. Yeah. I'm sick of all these loser live in their mom's basement software engineers and consultants. No, give me more himbos, because we get things like
he lives on his dad's lawn. He lives on his dad's lawn. Is that any better?
But I don't know who the fuck said it, but they were right when they said every Survivor cast now looks like a white-collar corporate retreat going to do their trust exercises for the weekends. Give me more Davids. Give me more. Because we got fun shit like this.
Yes.
You think some of these other people are going to be standing up on that? No, they're not.
And watching Star, Cedric, and Chrissy all laugh, like break and laugh at this, and Camilla smiling at it. It's so good. It's a cherry on top of the David character of the season, especially watching it on, again today. It's like, yeah, I like his character arc from beginning to end, because it feels like he is in on the joke. It's the opposite of Chris Noble, where it's like, okay, yeah, this man is clearly just missing a lot of these cues. It felt like David knew how he might be perceived. Like, that standing up moment is something that literally never happens. And for him to end his entire story arc with a knock knock joke at Final Tribal, it's like, yes, that's perfect. I love this man. But so in my notes, you're going to say Kyle and Camilla are just playing circles around these jamokes, because it's the Shaheen vote, where once again they go into acting mode again, and they convince Joe that Shaheen is mounting an offensive, and they're gonna come after him. And Shaheen votes for Mitch. That was our second one. Votes for Mitch. at the tribal that he goes home at. Jared, once again, just like Camilla and Kyle, like we're going to talk about duos all the time when we get to Final Tribal, but how are they able to pull this off again with like no one suspecting anything?
Well, what I didn't remember was I'm looking at the voting chart. Camilla also voted for Mitch. I didn't remember that, and I thought that was an interesting move on her end. Like, I probably get a piece of. Is Shot in the Dark still available at this point?
I think
6. Yeah, I think 6 may be the last time, but it is available at 6.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought it was maybe like Eva or someone who ended up voting Mitch. But he gave them all the ammunition that they needed. I kind of thought that Shaheen, and I don't mean this in like in a bad way, but like I thought that he was going to be like a more game savvy player in some of his moves, because a lot of the time throughout the season, in his confessionals, he kind of thought that he was running the game and everything. Like, sorry, no. It's reminded me to vote for Love Island.
He's playing you off.
No. I remember loving him, like being a big fan of him going into the season. And I liked him throughout the season. He had some funny moments. Like in his confessional before the challenge, he was talking about like his amazing legs. I was laughing at that.
Yeah.
But I just thought that he would have been a bigger game player, like strategically, because they just walked right over him in this, and he just couldn't keep his mouth shut.
He could still be a great game player and just still get walked over by two, like a dynamic duo. Because I do think that Shaheen was doing fairly well. Yes, he gets tricked twice by the same pair, but like that doesn't make him bad,
I just didn't
right?
see moments.
He actively knew what was the correct winning scenario for him and was trying to get to that point. I think he is a good game player. I just think they were better together. Like I said,
I would love to see him again too.
Yeah, like I said, he actively knew his winning scenario. He knew he gets to the end with that Joe Eva pair. He's going to be in that position that Kyle ended up in. He just got outplayed around earlier. And it happens. Yeah. We've all been there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny because I don't remember who brought up the point earlier of good gameplay leads to like boring seasons a lot of the time. When I play orgs, and this is I was kind of get you guys' vibe on this, like from your perspective of how you play. I don't like mess. I don't like, idols advantage. I don't like, it's like keep it as straightforward as possible because I can play in the realm of this. And one of my favorite lines to use to people in games is, we're not playing to an audience who gives a shit if there's a big move or not. We're just trying to get to the end, right? I think that in this season, it's that same mentality of who cares what the audience thinks? We're trying to win. And I do, for me, if I were to ever play the actual game, it'd be the same thing of, I don't care what the audience thinks. I'm trying to win $1 million. If it means working with the meatheads and they think that I'm with them, sure. I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry. Hey, Chrissy, you're right, but you got to go. You got to take the easiest path for you.
If the keyboard warriors are on X saying that I'm anti-mother because I'm trying to win $1 million, they'll say I'm anti-mother because I'm trying to win $1 million. Like, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day.
Like, I have no issue playing that game if I'm in that position. But like Coach, like the game that we played together, that was my struggle in the game and why I was frustrated at people of like, you can see what's going on. Why aren't we doing anything to upset this power structure? Mm-hmm. Let's do something. And I only get that way when I'm in the minority.
When you're in the majority, it's still very stressing of like any moment now someone's going to try to get big movitis and try to pull something off, and you just have to make sure that everyone kind of stays on the same page, which is why I do respect the Kim and the Boston Robs and all of that, of the Sophie Clarks, of, hey, you guys were able to maintain this in an era of the show where we're still in the big moves era yet, but they were definitely in the era of like people potentially flipping. And so Jeremy Collins is another example of like we are in big moves era there. And Kimmy's the only one that ever really tries to come after him at 6. So here, the fact that Kyle and Camilla are able to basically just sit there and ride this, well, half of them are riding this group. The other half is just like awaiting the moment that they can flip. It's so fun to watch on a rewatch, even though the second half of the season is not that fun as a whole. I will admit that I was rooting for Joe to get number 5 because I love when records get broken or tied, especially this record where he could have gotten 6 because he wins number 4 at final 6 because it is 5-4. Yeah, so he wins number 4 at final 6, so he could have broken the record. I was rooting for Joe to get number 5 because I like when that specific record gets tied. We're gonna get the women's record tied again tomorrow. Julia, at any point did you find yourself pulling for Joe or Eva? Because there are 2 other finalists. Did you find yourself pulling for them at any other point during the season?
Honestly, no. I made my opinion very much known in real time to anyone who talked to me about the Survivor. I was not a big fan of the Eva and Joe of it all. And again, I'm going to keep it cute on the podcast. You can find me in my DMs if you want my real takes. I was never really rooting for them. Was always actively rooting against them. And once it got to the situation where it was quite clear that Kyle or Camilla were going to be at the end, I found myself just so overjoyed that one of them was most likely going to win the season. Because if it somehow was like a Mitch, Joe, Eva, final 3, I think I would have chosen the gun.
Yeah,
I think I would have chosen the gun.
It would have been my 13th reason why.
it would have.
And Gabe mentioned it in the chat, like take a drink every time Mitch mentions flipping. That was my biggest frustration in this merge of like, okay, if you're gonna flip, why didn't you do it like a couple rounds ago when it was more optical? Like, I don't understand the logic in going to 6. Like, who in the right mind thought that 6 was the right time to flip? Him and Star.
Even
I was like, I think for Star, there was stuff we didn't see for why people didn't like her, because Mitch mentions, and I think her boot episode of you can't trust anything Star says. So I was like, okay, there's something we're missing. Yeah. Because they should have flipped. And Kyle should have flipped.
Mitch is friends with Charity, so like maybe they didn't trust Star because of other reasons. No, I'm kidding. I forgot to bring this up, and Julia, I don't know, you probably do remember this. Do you remember what happened the night of the Star vote out? Do you remember where we were at?
We were together when Star got voted out?
Yeah, it was the night that one of our mutual friends almost got into a fight at the bar that we were at.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Jared will tell you off here. It was a fun time.
Yes.
It was a fun
I remember.
It was a fun time. Joe doesn't ultimately win his 5th. Camilla comes back and wins, and we get rid of Mitch. Drink.
I didn't remember that she won 2. Like, I think I remember the 1, but not the 2nd.
I don't remember the 1st. I didn't remember the 2nd. Oh no, I remember the 2nd. I didn't remember the 1st, and I just watched it. I couldn't tell you what round she won the 1st one in, but I can tell you what round she won the 2nd one in.
Neither could I.
And then Final 4, Kyle wins Samotion. I think this was right around where we could vote for what the Final 4 immunity challenge is going to be. And I'm like, once again, everyone's going to pick Samotion because obviously everyone's going to pick Samotion. This is not, you could have gamed the in the hands of the fan vote. Like the people that were surprised at the outcomes for some of the stuff, it's like you're clearly not paying attention.
You're
like
not
the fans,
paying attention.
Yeah, the fans are going. The casuals are going to vote for what they know. They're going to vote for more advantages. They're going to vote for Samotion because it's always there. They're going to vote for.
I remember
I don't
this
remember.
promotion
I remember.
in the Pinball Wizard thingy, I think from 46.
I couldn't
And
tell you. I remember Motion was there. I'm like, well, that's going to win. So I voted
I kind
for
of
it.
I
when it
wanted
was leading-
hands on the hard idol.
Oh,
Really
I
hard
wanted.
idol.
I would have. Thinking about it now, I would have wanted either the Hands on the Idol or the Pinball Wizard because I don't really like. I didn't actually thinking about it now. I didn't really hate the Pinball Wizard kind of thingy. I thought that was kind of cool. Maybe I need to rewatch it.
I wanted, it's right here. I wanted the Thailand one or the Fiji one. The final three from final three from Thailand, final four from Fiji. That would have been amazing.
What was the Fiji one?
Where they were stretched out like this, and they were basically and
yeah.
every now and then they get stretched back.
I didn't remember that was Final Four.
Then they changed like the angle. Was that what it was?
So
it's almost like the wall in Big Brother.
Oh my God, wait, I was on the Fiji podcast. I lied. I haven't been on since Fiji. My apologies.
Oh, so the day after. Yeah, the day after. Okay, so it was the same week. Eva's okay, so we Kyle says that Eva and Camilla are gonna go to fire. Kyle and Camilla basically both say, hey, we know what this is. We know that we can't go to the end together. Which I find admirable. But Kyle tells Eva that she's going to fire, and we get another Eva panic attack. Joe helps her out through it again. Eva and Camilla go to fire. Eva has a panic attack during fire. Camilla is coaching her while trying to do her own. Jeff points that out. Camilla loses.
Camilla would have been me. I would have been Camilla. Been like, girl, you're doing good. Just
bitch, I wouldn't have been. I would have said, shut the fuck up and make your fire. Like your tears are distracting me.
But we lose Camilla.
And we lost Coach.
Something that I've been trying to do through the 40s. I've been trying to do through the 40s of on this rewatch, figuring out what prod saw to say, hey, we need this person for 50. Whether we agree on if we needed this many people post-COVID on 50. So far, Jonathan's the only person, we're going to talk about the other two people in a second, but Jonathan's the only person so far in 50 where it's like, I didn't want him, but I also understand why he was cast. There's one person this season that I just don't understand why they were cast for 50, and it's not Camilla. Do you guys, from your perspective, did you see something there? It's like, okay, yeah, returning Camilla, like not even maybe for 50, just like returning Camilla at some point.
Eventually, yes. I think for 50, it kind of made sense if they were bringing back new air, like people from the 40s, and they wanted people from 48. I think Camilla is an obvious one. But even like eventually, if she wasn't brought back for 50, I would have liked to see her later on.
Yeah. I thought 50 was too early.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
I think she did have great returning potential, but I just think there were so many people left off of 50. And I'm not even talking like I wanted these old era players. I'm talking strictly like the new era. I think there were better options even there than Camilla. I think you're doing this from 48. The only person you need is Joe. And I'm not even a Joe fan. I think Joe is the only person you need because you have to play to the casuals, just like the way that like the casuals love Jonathan, the casuals love Joe. So like I get that.
I get it from that perspective. So Joe, the kill the lead, Joe is the person that I was like, I don't understand how he ended up, and I understand casuals and all that. I think it's because there's so many people from his archetype on 50 that it's like, okay, we've got Coach, we've got we've got Colby, we've got Jonathan, we've got Ozzy.
They wanted one of them to win. That's why if they stacked enough of them, maybe one of them was going to win the game.
As soon as Joe probably saw who else was on 50, it was like his wet dream of like, oh my God, these old school players, like I've been teleported back 20 years to when I should have actually played. And I knew as soon as he was casted, I was like, oh, he's just going to hook up with them and they're going to do the old school shit.
It was my biggest nightmare, and it happened in real time. And I think I texted Julia, my co-host Jake, and a few others, and was like, oh, the worst thing possible just happened.
It was D-Day, basically, for Coach.
Yeah,
and I by seeing the Survivor 51 cast.
Oh, God. We won't touch that yet. We get to Final Tribal. And just a couple of things. One, I've asked everyone this question since 45 or 46, where we have a hybrid version of Final Tribal where it's no longer what it was back in the day, but it's also no longer what it was from 34 until 45. Now it's a hybrid of, it's still a panel, but people get asked questions, like people go one at a time, but also people can chime in if they want, based off of what the person whose turn it is says. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thought on this hybrid version of Final Tribal.
I like it. Like I said, where Survivor is now, we're never going to go back to the basics. We're never going to get to have people go up one by one. But I think this is a fairly good compromise, because I think it's important that the jurors get to ask what is important to them. Every juror has a different metric. Every juror has different reasons for wanting to cast their vote. So to have as many of them as possible be able to ask specific questions, I think it can only be a positive. I think it helps cut back on some of the group think. Sorry, I think that's a big issue we saw, especially in the early part of the 40s, is I think you get a lot of just like group think if you're going in there. And I think it's kind of cut down on that. I've appreciated it.
I agree. I think it's a good hybrid of the two, and like honestly the best case scenario we could think of for this. I think the one aspect of it I like, the one kudos I will give to them is I like the fact that they all can like speak during someone's question, whereas you couldn't do that in the old format. So that's nice. And so like, the people can chime in and be like, well, that's actually not correct, or I want to add more information or get more clarification. So, I mean, it's the best we're going to get. And I hope it kind of stays for a while unless they can think of a better version, which I don't think we're going to.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Tiffany calling out Stephanie at Final Tribal for 50. Like, yes. It was, is there a question there? So we do get those types of moments. Two big things I want to bring up with Final Tribal here is I do think that all three of them are doing well. Specifically Joe. Like, Joe doesn't do the best during the 50 Final Tribal, mainly because no one's talking to him. Every time, like, he does have that charisma about him at this one. I do feel like he's answering the questions to the best of his ability. I think that he is at least keeping them entertained. I think that Eva is doing a very good job, and I think that from top to bottom they're all doing well. The two things I want to touch on are Eva says that her and Joe are one of the tightest duos ever in the history of the show. Now, yes, I do agree with that, obviously, because they made it to the end together, and they were a part of an alliance that steamrolled the entire back half of the season, and even before that. I can't argue that. Jared, this is going to be the first time I ask this question tonight. Wink, wink. For you, where does this duo kind of land? I'm assuming you don't have like a ranking of all the duos, but where does this who could you put them in the same category as?
Oh God, that's hard, because like it's putting you on the spot to try to think of duos. And like when you think of duos, you think of like Steve and JT, obviously Camilla and Kyle. God, there's so many more.
Don't say them yet. We can't say them yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I feel like you have to rank them kind of high, because obviously they do well, but at the same time, it's like, what do they really do as a duo other than just like stay loyal together? But fun fact, during the RHAP rewatch of 2020, I asked this question on there during Ghost Island for Dom and Wendell. I was like, where do they rank? So, I mean, I would have to probably see a list of all the duos to think about it more, but off the top of my head, I feel like I had to rank them like lower, even though like it's just hard because I feel like duos are such a stacked category. Because even like Denise or Malcolm, like
yeah.
it's hard.
They couldn't
Gabe,
get the job
make sure
done.
you tune in on Sunday, so you can just Gabe has not. I think have gauged what Gabe has said throughout this whole process. Gabe has not seen season 50, so Gabe, you have to make sure that you tune in on Sunday. Yeah. So yes, spoilers. Joe made it to final 3 in back-to-back seasons. So, or not back. Oh, for him, back-to-back seasons.
Back-to-back appearances.
Yeah.
Julia,
I don't know. I feel like they do fall out of the top 5 for sure, because and I'm a little biased. I will fully admit that, but job didn't get finished. And I think that's something you have to look at. Job did not get finished. And that's always going to hurt someone's duo chances when they can't pull it off, when one of them can't pull it off on the end. So I think, like I said, I rank like your Dom and Wendell's above them, your JT and Steven definitely go above them. Hell, I'd say I would put Malcolm and Denise above them. I would put Amanda in par. There's so many people I'd put above them, and purely for, again, win equity, job getting finished. Yeah.
But also impact on the season, because they had an impact on the season, but I don't know. The other duos had more impact.
Well,
they're not my favorite, so I'm biased.
That's it.
As the unbiased person, I guess, I put them in the same category as Tom and Ian.
I think that's very fair.
That's Tom and Ian. Where Ian's the emotional one. But yeah, that's like Tom and Ian. I feel like they've been forgotten to time, but I feel like that's kind of where I would put them.
They're Pappy and Nalia.
No, we're not doing that one. If anything, they're Roger and Elizabeth.
Am I wrong? I'm not.
Well, no, but not. Like Roger and Elizabeth, not Pappy and Aaliyah. Like, no, we're not doing that. Was just creepy. That was creepy.
No, I think I'm going to stand on my business. Actually, I'm going to stand on that take.
So obviously, the point that I'm bringing up with that is, this is where Kyle and Camilla kneecapped them for the last time this season, where Eva's talking about the Shaheen blindside. And Camilla, and I forgot about this, Camilla's just sitting there, and they have it on subtitles. This is like, Kyle, I got you. It's like, she's just, I got you. Don't worry about this. And Camilla says, hey, Kyle, do you want to tell everyone what actually happened during the Shaheen vote? And Kyle lays it out there like, hey, it was all a farce. Like, we fooled you. And they play like the triumphant music as he's saying this. Is like, oh, well, that's how you know. If you didn't know before now, and I didn't, I was convinced going into this it was going to be Eva or almost called Mike, Eva or Joe, just because bad things happen sometimes. And so until that moment, it's like, oh man. And then that happens. Like, I think Kyle's gonna win this, because that is the Marianne, I had the shit on me the entire time. That is Todd saying, John Rivera, this, that, and the other. That is any moment you wanted. Chris apologizing, I brought your hat, and all this other stuff. And so when Kyle does eventually win, it's like, yeah, thank goodness, because Eva got 2 votes, and I'm still sitting there sweating. Like, we're not doing this, right? We're not going to do this.
I didn't remember that she got 2 votes.
It was awful. And my good friend Timmy is over, and it's my first week or 2 at my new job. I'm already working. My boss is calling me at 10:30 at night when we're trying to reveal the survivor votes. And I said, I need you to be quiet for a second. And we all sat there and held hands with the TV muted, just terrified she was going to win. And we see the 1 vote and we see the 2 vote. And I'm like, but sometimes good things do happen.
Sometimes good things happen, and Kyle
Sometimes
does
they
win. He doesn't get Cedric's vote, he doesn't get Star's vote, and he doesn't get Mary's vote. And that is an issue with not even post-COVID Survivor. This has been an issue for a bit now, where because of the edit, we don't know why certain people vote certain ways during Final Tribal. I always go back to Nicaragua. We know why Purple Kelly votes for Fabio. It's because of the jacket. That's why, you know, it's right front and center. We know why the jury in Here's This Villains votes the way they do. We know how here it's like, okay, I don't really understand why any of these people voted the way that they did, but it's all good because Kyle does win. So the other part of the question I asked earlier, Kyle and Camilla, all-time duos. Jared's coming back to you again. All-time duos. Where are we putting Kyle and Camilla?
They have to be in that. When you think of duos now, you have to think of Kyle and Camilla because of this game. Kind of like what Julia's been saying of they finished the job. They actually, one of them did win the game, so that helps them out a lot. I mean, it might just be biased, but I think that you probably do have to consider them with like the Dom and Wendell's. I like Denise and Malcolm as a duo. So up there with them. So those higher tier of duos, in my opinion.
I think they are unquestionably top 5. I think without a doubt, I think you can put them in there. Again, I had beat the drum of they finished the job, but also like Camilla sat on that jury and she could have just like let it play out, but she didn't. Like she inserted herself to make sure that like his story was told, and to that just like takes it over the edge for me past some other people, because it's like you're committed, like you are committed to this duo, and
yeah,
they did it. How often do we see two people be able to navigate a game like this and no one knows it's happening? It's almost unheard of.
Yeah, they're definitely upper echelon for me. I haven't sat, and what I might do is after I'm done with all of this, I just go make more lists because I love making lists of my favorite duos. But like, it's probably, but I think that right now, off the top of my head, it would probably be Tony and Sarah, and then everybody else. But maybe like, I don't know. Like, I feel like they are at least top 5.
I feel like they have to be top 5
because of how dominant they were from beginning to end. Because of the acting performances they put on the entire season. The fact that they understood, hey, we can't go to the end together. But like, even if they had, I still think one of them would have won. I don't think it would have been a situation where the third place person magically just catches all of these votes, because we saw it in Ghost Island. That's not what happened there. In that situation, the two best caught all of the votes. So I would have been cool with that happening, but you know, cool. We want to go after each other right here. Fine. It's Final 4. It's not that big. It's not cutting your number 1 at Final 7 to make a big move or whatever. All right. Before we get to our final questions, Jared, final thought. Yes. Of course.
Really quickly, what were your thoughts on the idols this season?
As far as what they look like?
No, just like how they had to get them and like the mechanism that they like how they did it this season. Because it was different. I mean, this is unique for Survivor.
So 47, I'll say like 47, I enjoyed that the Beware advantage wasn't saying stupid phrases. It was doing whatever you had to do, you know, the blood or the paint with Sue. Here it's you know, the whatever this, I can't think of a word, but
yeah, I don't know what it's called.
But I did enjoy, I guess I enjoyed that aspect of it. The fact that they had hidden all of the animals around camp at the beginning of the season, and before people knew what the relevance was, they thought that was going to be relevant to something a little later. I did think that was a fun twist on the idol. This is something that they have been doing since basically 44 of like, how do we make the idols, finding the idols and all of this more interesting without removing the fact that these are now beware advantage idols. And so they've changed they had the cage in 44. So yeah, I guess that's a long way of saying I enjoyed it.
I
think it was fun.
My only issue with it is that 2 out of the 3 of them had like the exact same thing. I'm pretty sure. I think, and then like Green Tribe had like their own like theirs was like the colors, and then the other 2 had like that thing that they had to decipher. And I was like, can we not have either like 3 unique or them like all the same?
All the same. 2 and 3 or 2 and 1 is, and the only like Camilla writing stuff out in her leg was so fun to watch, just because you have no pen and paper. You can't do it in the sand because people might catch you, like in Thailand. I don't know why Thailand was the first season I thought about drawing stuff in the sand, but
you're a Thailand truther.
Yeah. Spoilers. Thailand is still at the bottom of my list. 48 days into this.
It's okay. My mind also went to Thailand. So,
Jared, final thoughts on Survivor 48.
We might need to talk about this post when we're done, because I would interested to hear like where you would put this like for the 40s, like the pre-merge portion, because the pre-merge portion, like we've said, was good TV, and it was so enjoyable to watch. It might be one of my favorites for like the 40s. I would have to rewatch them. But then the slog of the second half really just puts this season down for me. But what helps this season is Kyle and Camilla, and Kyle winning. It really does help. This season would be so much lower if Joe or Eva won for me. So the bright spot of the whole thing was the finish, because a bad finish can ruin any season. So probably one of my more least favorite 40 seasons. But I need to rewatch like before. I really need to rewatch all of the 40s.
I think you should. I think you should.
For me, I did not rewatch this season before doing this. I've been busy. Sue me, everyone. I think when I eventually rewatch this season, I'm going to have a similar opinion with it as I did when I rewatched Edge of Extinction. I think Edge of Extinction, in the moment as it's happening, it was so easy for me to get taken out because of the outcome. But I found myself, when I rewatched Edge of Extinction, and I knew what was going to happen, I found myself enjoying the season infinitely more, because I was a very much like I'm a never edger. Like I don't want someone from the edge to come back and win. So like having that be the outcome and knowing that was probably going to be a possibility regardless, it was bad. But on the rewatch, I enjoyed it so much more. And I feel like I'm going to have the same experience with this, where in the moment when you think the outcome is going to be this like Joe, Eva win, I think it was hard. It was really hard for me to watch at some points, and it was easy to take myself out of it. But knowing the outcome, I feel like I would enjoy a lot of the just smaller things more, a lot of the character moments more. I think it's, once I watch it again, it's going to raise a ton in my ratings.
Jared? Oh, Jared already answered. For me, it was, like I said, we've said it the entire night. Pre-merge is a lot of fun. Merge, you have to pick your spots. And this is kind of what I do with One World, where it's like I try to pick my spots with One World because I do feel like there is merit to a lot of the things that happen at Merge at One World. For me, it is the inverse of Caramoan. Caramoan is a shit pre-merge and a very, very good and underappreciated merge. So ironically enough, Gabe says this should be below Ghost Island. Well, I have Ghost Island at 44 out of 48 so far, so it's not going to be below Ghost Island. For me, I have Survivor 48 at. I just did this before we went live, and I can't find. Oh, I have Survivor 48 at 32nd out of 48, right above Caramoan, and right below Australian Outback.
That makes sense. Because I'm not saying it's a fantastic season, but I've seen people are like, this is a bottom 5 season of Survivor. And I get that, like, yes, in the moment, it seemed very dire. Whatever. I'm a doomsdayer sometimes. But again, you watch it back. Is it really? It's not. It's not great.
With the options we have for bottom 5,
come on.
Yeah, with the options we have for bottom 5,
bottom 10 even,
even bottom 10. I don't have any post-COVID seasons on that. I don't think I'm going to after I'm done on Sunday, but I feel like the bottom 10 is the bottom 10. But yeah,
I think it's a good cast. I think this is a really good movie cast.
And then so we get to our final questions. One, Jared, who would your ally be this season?
It's so hard because I watch them play, and I'm like, watching them play versus like them as like a person, I feel like it's two separate things. Because it's like I almost want to work with Shaheen and like Thomas, but at the same time, like there's like a lot of people I like actually want to work with, but I feel like they would annoy me in there. So wildcard answer Cedric, but also throw like Thomas and Shaheen.
Cedric?
As long as I tell Cedric everything.
Jared wants to go home. Okay. Jared said, "Put
I'm
me
going
on
for that 4th place boot."
Okay. Julie,
that was funny. God, who would I work with? Mitch, obviously.
Okay. Why rewatch 48 and then see Mitch in the first half versus the second half? Completely different person.
I actually agree with you. I think I would like be really drawn. I'm not saying Cedric, but like to the Shaheens of the world. I feel like that's where I would find myself. I could also see myself literally just like cut Bianca out of the season and put me in, and like Thomas and I would just be so disgustingly evil and vicious the whole time. So I would say those would be my two. I want to be a California girl.
Oh God. I had to think about it because usually I do my crush of the season as like a gag answer and then my real answer. I had to think about who my crush of the season was. And it's because she goes up pre-merge. It would be Bianca. But as far as my real answer, probably Camilla. Like, especially with the acting chops that she has, like, yeah, we could. I mean, we see what she does.
I would want to work with her. I just don't want to pick an obvious answer also. Because I feel like I would get along with her, and me, Thomas, and her would probably just get along so well.
Yeah. And then final question, who would the 6 people be on your DVD box cover?
It's a struggle.
Well, I'll
Kyle Camilla.
I feel like Camilla. You do
yeah, Jared, go first then.
It's obviously Kyle Camilla. Like, you had to have those two. For me, you also have to include Say. You probably have to do Joe Eva. I feel like you have to. And then I can't figure out the 6th person. I thought about this beforehand. I don't know the 6th. You could convince me on someone.
For me, I would just do the final 6 sub Mitch for Say.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I would have Kyle, Camilla, Eva, Joe, David, Say, Shaheen. And Shaheen.
That works.
Yeah, that would be my 6.
As long as Say's there.
Yeah,
But then,
as long
but
as-
then Mitch has the back cover all to himself.
No, stop it. No, we're not doing that. We've already mentioned Mitch too much tonight. I was, like I said, my actual goal going in was to never mention Mitch, and we still only mentioned him like maybe 6 times, but
Might be top 5 worst Survivor players of all time. I'm ready to say that.
well, next time I do some type of big list, we can kind of put our heads together and figure out that
Wendy Joe, he's coming for your crown, girl.
Okay, so that is going to wrap up everything. Both of y'all, thank you so much. I know this is y'all's last time, unless you guys show up on Sunday. Jared, I know this is your first time doing the marathon with me. Thank you so much for taking the time out to do 3 episodes.
3.
Yep, 3. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I do hope that I get to see you Sunday at some point. And then Julia is an OG, one of the very few OGs I've had who have done all 3 times that I have done this. You've been on call for a couple of the times that I had to do it this time around. So thank you so much. I can't believe I'm almost done. Yeah, I've got tomorrow, and then
you never
Sunday
have to watch an episode of Survivor again.
And then I never have to watch Aubrey Bracco win Survivor again after Sunday. Thank you. Spoilers, Gabe. But I really do appreciate everything, and yeah, we will see you all tomorrow for the penultimate episode of Survivor 50 and 50 with Survivor 49 featuring the man, the myth, the legend, RIZ, God, Baby. Until then.